All right, y'all. Welcome to this week's AMA Ask Me Anything. For those of you who are new to Ask Me Anythings, the way that these sessions work is they're designed so that any specific question that you have, you can get those questions answered. So if you want to know how to do something within a tool, or if you're stuck somewhere, or if you have a general question about speaking, I want to, do some outbound, or I had some things come in, or I want to just figure out how to sit in the front row and not the back row of life, and I want to be around Marilyn Sherman just a little bit more. You've come to the right place. This is a great place to come if you have questions to get them answered. This is also a wonderful place to come, even if you don't have questions, because seeing what kind of conversations are happening in the speaking industry are what smart speakers do to keep their finger on the pulse of the industry. So even being here as a fly on the wall, you will by osmosis grow and get better. And the beautiful thing about it is I've been in the game for 18 years. I know a thing or two, but I don't know everything. And there's a million ways to do the thing. So Jason can have some ideas that I would never even thought of, and Shannon can have ways of doing something that's completely brilliant. I've been constantly impressed by the ideas and the strategies that our community comes and builds together. And one of the reasons that we do that so well is because we are a group of people that believe that we should lift as we climb. So what I want to do, and then we're going to jump into the questions, is what we do every single time we come together, which is read our Talkadot manifesto, which is the whole kind of lifeblood of why we do what we do. So allow me to read this to you. So if you've heard this before, great, to reinforce this message. If you've not heard this before, this is kind of the soul of what Talkadot stands for. So we are, there we go. We are a community of professional speakers that view speaking as an honored craft that deeply impacts lives. This is a skill that we constantly care about getting better at and perfecting. It's an infinite game that we can constantly get better at, and that's why we get feedback. We know we are never done getting better, and we know there's always another level, and we endlessly pursue that next level. Where others dial it in, we go to the next level. We realize that we should do everything we can to ethically grow our business, because the more we speak, the more lives we impact, and we believe doing well while we do good in the world go hand in hand. We have big visions, but we take big action too. We share our impact with the world, not because it's about showing how great we are, but about showing the greatness in the audience we help create. We are constantly perfecting our craft and humble enough to know there's always more to learn. We have an abundance mindset and know there is so much opportunity in this industry and in this world, and this is the key. So we always lift as we climb. Because of that, we are different. We are unicorns. We are Talkadot. So thank you so much for being here and being a part of it. Let's jump into living out these principles and making them happen. So if you have a question, go ahead and use the raise your hand feature that kind of looks like this. We'll set up the questions in a queue and just roll through them, answer any questions that you have. And I look forward to seeing everyone who will be joining us Thursday at 5 p.m. for our special training. And I'll lower my hand because I ain't got no questions. Who wants to go first? Marilyn, what's up?
Hey, it's good to see you. I have a question. If so far every time I use Talkadot, I create a new QR code with
Mhm.
a custom word for that group, but
Yep.
but are most people just doing the same QR code, so it's just one? And if I were to do that, does that add the group to the last group that used that same QR code?
Great question. Great question. So, the simple answer is it depends on what your goals are. I can tell you what most of the data shows, and then obviously everyone is unique and they kind of do their own thing. The goal of Talkadot is you do not have to create a new code for each speech that you give. So, for example, let's say you create a code that's just called front row, and you ask the same questions and you give out the same bonus, whether it's a PDF or a video. You can just create that code front row once, throw it into the end of your slide deck that you give that presentation for, and you never ever have to change it. The data will automatically go into a new talk line based on date and time. So if you want to create a new talk each time, you just show your code, the audience scans it. And what our tool does, so you can understand the back behind the scenes logic, is we clump all responses that happen within a 30-minute window together. So you could speak at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and 12 p.m. on the same day, and you'd get three different responses because there are more than 30 minutes in between those responses. If you ever wanted are you ever in a position where you do recorded presentations and you do want all of it to go into one report? Does that ever happen?
No.
No. So then you don't even need to worry about the lock the code feature. So if you ever did want to do that, you just lock the code. But in your case, you can create one code and then reuse it over and over and over again. Now, the next question that typically comes up for me is, well, why would I do that over creating a special code like for each client? It's just personal preference. Some people like the little added customer service of putting like Nike or Clorox or Adidas as the code so that people in the audience feel like it's theirs. But I don't know if there's any measurable distinction or difference in making it the client's name versus just your message's keyword. So you could create just one code and reuse it, and you'll be good to go.
Okay. And they don't really use the code if they're on site and they do the QR code. They don't put in that special word anyway.
That's correct. So all they do is either see that on the screen when they're scanning it. The
Mm-hmm.
only use case for when somebody would type in the code is sometimes people will say things like, "Oh, the internet wasn't working in here. So I took a picture of your slide." So
Yeah.
if they take a picture of your slide, they would just go to talk.ac/Sherman, whatever your URL is, and then they would
Right.
have to manually type in the word. But
Yeah.
most of the time, they scan the QR code and
Yeah.
that code gets entered for them and they're never interacting with it. It's just the visual of it
Yeah.
or the just in case.
Yeah. Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. My pleasure. My pleasure. Shannon, what's up?
Hey, y'all, I am brand new to this. I just signed up this week and I had,
Can we do a little dance real quick?
yeah, yeah.
Welcome to the party, Shannon. All right, go ahead.
Thank you. I did an event last week. I had to sign up for the free trial, did an event, and I only got 2 responses, but I only had 10 people in the room and I waited till the end. So the statistics bore out that it was to, to 20 to 30% versus the 60 to 70 if you actually give people time to do the thing. So I
Hmm.
have an event coming up this coming week. And I wanted to see if people have any help and feedback with regard to the questions to ask if time is limited. I went with the default, but
Hmm.
I wanted to get feedback from everybody on what you think that the best questions to ask are and how many and how long it should take.
Yeah. So
So
the
hit me.
biggest thing for new users is how do you tee up Talkadot? That's like kind of the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the question length itself, so our built-in system, the standard one you use has what's called a 90, it's called a completion rate. It's a 99% completion rate, meaning over the
Okay.
last 1 million people that start the survey, they go through it and finish it. So a lot of times when people first take it, they go, "Oh, is this long? Will people finish it?" The data shows over and over people do finish it. Now you can shorten it if you want or add questions. That's like up to yours. But what I find is your highest indicator of whether you're going to get a higher response rate is how you tee it up.
Mm-hmm.
How do you introduce the slide? Do you just put it up and walk away? Do you say anything? What did you do the first time you used it?
I had a second to last slide and I said,
Okay.
here's a QR code. But I said, we were towards the end. I didn't leave the extra time I probably should have. So I said, here's the QR code. And when you pull this up, let me just finish talking about wrapping up the session. So they didn't pull it up. And then 2 people did it afterwards. So
Mhm.
I did the other demo training and I know now how to do it. So
Mhm.
I think I get it. I wouldn't mind you going through it again, but
Happy to.
I
Yeah.
think you just answered the question I actually had with the default survey seems to be the one that you recommend. And
Yeah.
does anyone have any other thoughts? I mean, I'm happy. I don't want to,
No, this is why we're here. This is the whole
but
point
I'd
of it.
love to hear
So,
your part too about
mhm.
teeing it up. That's going to be helpful too. So thank you.
Yeah. Jason.
I say that using the default one, spot on. Go, and especially if it's your first two, three, four, five, because I think that Talkadot did a really good job at doing the research from thousands of these being used which one has the most impact to get the best feedback as a speaker. So first, go with the default in the beginning. Then you can tweak it as you go on.
All
Second
right.
piece.
Yeah, perfect.
The second piece, tell them in the beginning that you are going to give them the opportunity to get your deck or bonus. You want to kind of give them the intro as to, if you do something, you are going to get something. And you want that in the beginning to kind of let their guard down. I do this thing, I've said this a few times, called hand in the cookie jar. And that is, I tell them, I've built out my deck to be more educational. I want to give you the opportunity to just relax, sit back, and just view the screen. You don't have to take notes. You don't have to write down anything or take pictures, because I'm going to give you the opportunity to get this whole deck. But if you still want to, you can still take pictures. You control freaks, you. But I'm going to give you the chance to get this whole deck. Then I go into my talk. Then getting towards the end, I then say, so how many people now feel better about this? How many people feel better about this? Okay, that's great. Because speakers like us, we never really know what resonates. So I want you to do me a favor. I want you to pull out your phones. And then I'll pause and then say, don't act like pulling out your phones is hard. Some of you have been on your phone the whole damn time. Then they'll pull out their phones. And then I say, I want you to take this QR code, scan this QR code. Now, I want you to give me your feedback, because when I do other workshops with teams like yours, when I do coaching with people like you, I want your feedback to help make this better. And as soon as you get done, you will get this entire deck. You will be able to download this entire deck and whatever bonus, or just the deck, whatever that you give them. And then whenever you're done, so I know that you're almost done, raise your head, show me those pretty smiles, so I know that you are done. And then I'm going to give you my final thoughts. And then they are just doing their thing. And then after that, then you go into the final thoughts. That's what I do. That's the hand in the cookie jar of get them to not take pictures, get them to not take notes. Because at the end, then they'll realize, I really do want this content. So I'm going to fill out this survey so I can get this content. Sorry, I'll stop right there.
Mhm. Yeah,
So last question, you're
please.
quiet then for like when they're filling it out, you're not saying anything?
Mentally, you're thinking, oh man, that's going to be so awkward. Everyone is thinking about themselves in that moment. You're the only one thinking about how you look. They're thinking about their phone, doing these answers and getting this information, and that's it. Do not be concerned with how you look, because they aren't thinking about how you look.
Perfect.
Yeah. A couple of things to double click on what Jason said, because I have found that strategy, the hand in the cookie jar, is been incredible for response rates for sure. So you say, hey, by the way, if you want to get access to the slide deck or whatever is the bonus, but that's presupposing that you give away a bonus. A lot of speakers who just ask for feedback without a bonus will see a lower response rate, because just the research shows if you give someone something for their feedback, they're more likely to actually give you their thoughts. So the easiest thing that Jason referenced was your slide deck. Do you use slides or don't use slides, Shannon? Use slides? You're muted, so I can't. Okay.
Yes, I do.
Yes. Yeah. So if you just take your slides and export them to a PDF and then upload them, it's the easiest, highest value bonus to give away because of what Jason said. Normally, when we speak, people are taking pictures of our slides or they're writing notes. But by saying what Jason said, hey, you don't got to do that. I'm going to give it all to you. People put their pens down, they're relaxed, and then almost always there's a quote on your slide they like or a thing, but they go, oh, I'm going to get it. I don't have to worry about it. So it builds up that desire to want to get it. And then by saying, hey, scan this QR code, let me know what you thought, and you'll get the access to the slide deck, or you can give away an ebook or a video, whatever is the kind of reward bonus that you feel matches your um, uh, goals. You'll see a huge increase just for that reason alone. And then if you give them, there's two ways to do feedback, which Jason, and I just want to double click on this because it's important. Every speaker is different. There's a speaker that cares about maximizing response rate, and then there's a speaker who cares about ease of integration of Talkadot, right? So the maximizing response rate is actually leaving those 2 minutes of intentional time of silence for people to give that feedback. And during that time, to make myself not feel awkward, I might walk over to my host and whisper in his or her ear and say, hey, everyone's giving me their feedback. When they're done, I'm going to get a report. I'm going to send it to you. Anything you need from me before we wrap up? And then they'll usually say, no, this was great, thank you. And then that lets them know the report's coming, and then it gives me something to do in the 2 minutes. Or I go over to the lectern with a pen and paper and write something down, or I go to my phone by the lectern, I put in some, typically their notes about something I observed or something I should do better. Like, you know, my bio, like, I don't know about you, but sometimes I have something in my bio that every time I hear it, I'm like, that's too old. I need to change that. And I never remember to. So I'll like write down and be like, you know, I can't talk about when I used to have hair. That's stupid. I've been bald for 8 years now, you know? So that's kind of some stuff, or drink a little glass of water during that period. For some speakers, that's too uncomfortable. They're just like, oh, I can't do that. Like, that's weird. So they ask for feedback, and then they go directly into a closing story or Q&A. And what you'll find is that you're competing for your audience's attention if you go immediately into something. So it's harder for me to type, it's easier for me to listen. So because we do path of least resistance, I'll stop typing and listen. And then ultimately we'll maybe forget that you even asked me for feedback. So if you want to maximize feedback, create that intentional space. If you want to make it as easy as possible because you're just getting started, then at the very, 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 very end, thank you so much for your time. Please scan this QR code. Let me know what your thoughts are. And as a thank you, I'm going to give you access to the slide deck. So the moment they take out their phones and scan, thank you very much. And then you walk off stage. Now you'll get a lower response rate, but that's a very easy integration. So you have optionality there based upon your comfortability and flow.
Can I do one follow-up question? Have you done any research with regard to the very best thing to give away? I'm hearing a slide deck, but is there any research on other things that people have done that really work?
Yeah, there's two categories that we found from users that work really well. Category 1 is a summary of what they just heard.
Okay.
And category 2 is a next step you should take because you've heard my message. So an example of that might be a 1-page summary where you summarize everything you talked about and say, hey, I'll give you a summary of what we talked about. Or I have like a 5-minute video summary that I edited of my talk or slide deck. A next step is, hey, I just taught you, you know, how to be more brave. Like, why, like, I'm making this up, like how to be brave. Here's 5 conversations you can have tomorrow with your team members to embrace bravery, right? So it's like a very specific next step I can take because of what I've learned. So those two categories we found are the most easy. Now there's a secret third category, which is totally up to you as a user. So some speakers are like, oh, I wrote an ebook. I'm going to give away my ebook. And it's like a, 200-page ebook. And I always say to myself, does anyone read a 200-page ebook? Like
No.
it has perceived high value, but I don't know if people actually, and I haven't done no research on it, but it's already done and it's created and it has perceived high value. So we'll give away that, thing. But summary and next steps I find to be the best 2 categories based on our users.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Great questions. Jason, you the man. I'm gonna start saying hand in the cookie jar. I'm gonna just steal it and I'm gonna give Jason no credit. I'm gonna be like, I'm the ball man that came up with it. Not, no, of course I reference you, Jason. Susan, what's going on?
I'm going to be the bald man to reference that. Absolutely. Oatmeal raisin, Little Debbie's, let's go. So, I just wanted to add on, Shannon, to your point about making this, it was awkward at first to do this. One other thing I offer in doing the awkward pause for them to fill out the survey is I just want to say thank you to my phenomenal hosts, so-and-so, for bringing me here today. I'm so grateful that Tracy, Bobby, Ricky, Mike had this fantastic idea to bring storytelling, which is my topic, to all of you. please make sure to fill out this survey because it's going to do two things. It's going to give Tracy the opportunity to know how much you liked it. If you didn't enjoy it, I want to encourage you to just take a walk to the bathroom, enjoy yourself. And if you loved it, I want you to know that there's a fantastic 5-page workbook that accompanies this. It's a little bit different than the slideshow, but it's going to give you the exact roadmap to create the best innovation story of your life when you go back to your desk. So you'll get that as soon as you get back to your desk. It's waiting for you to start telling stories and to give Tracy all the feedback she needs to say what an awesome job she's doing. So like I try to just bring the host into it to kind of bring the room back around. And then Tracy gets her flowers, you know, at the end. And then when you send it 3 hours later, which I think is the genius of Talkadot, is that you have that feedback like that. No other speaker has it. And so you get to say, Tracy, what a brilliant move. You put together an amazing agenda. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad everybody loved it. Here's the data to back it up. What a fantastic event. This is all about you, Tracy, doing such a great job. And it looks like people want me to come back again. I'd be happy to enhance your next program. You know, so it's about them. It's not even about us. It's just serving the greater good. And that line of thinking has gotten me repeat business in the same room over and over again by just giving flowers to the organizer.
Yeah, and I can't stress that enough, actually. And I'm so glad you brought that up, Susan. Not that you asked this question, Shannon, but in general, one of the hesitations that happens for certain speakers is, oh, I don't want to brag about myself. I don't want to make it about me. And we should never make it about me or you or I. It should always be about the audience, the client, the organization, the speakers. Here's what, resonated. Here's what they took from it. Here's what you can do with this information. So always that position of, I like to see it as, it's kind of like leadership secret, not secret. That's not the right
Servant
word.
leadership, is that it?
Yeah, but it's the idea that like a good leader will never take credit for anything. A good leader will always give credit to to other people, and then in a strange way, that somehow gives credit to you. Like I don't know how to explain how that works, but it's by me going, hey, listen, Jason is the best, and Helena is the best, and James is the best. Somehow, by giving them the flowers, somehow you get flowers back too, which has always been kind of fun because I can talk about other people all day, every day. I can talk about myself 0.0001% of the time with confidence, which is weird because as speakers, you think we should all just like, I hate talking about myself. I will do it if I have to. So anyway, I can talk about why, James is so smart and why Susan is a great storyteller all day, every day. So this is for everyone, not just for you, Shannon, in particular, but the idea of always making it about them is such a really important thing. And philosophically, I align a lot with it. So thank you, Susan, for bringing
Yeah.
that up.
I actually had one more question. So I think I've been traveling so much. And so I think I've missed a couple of these. Net Promoter Score, is that
Yes.
I would love it if there would be like this two things. I would love it if there would be this list of like all the questions Talkadot members ask, like just a running database. Because I was like, is it engaging? And is what, do you want to hear Susan again? The two most impactful questions for sales. But I'm wondering what else is in there that I could pick and choose, like for Talkadot to create a database of best asked questions in the app so we could learn from one another.
That's a great thing. So just to reference, because some folks may say, what is that language that you just said? So when you go to create your survey, so when you go to codes and create survey, you can add questions by clicking this add questions button here. And we recently added Net Promoter Score. For those of you unfamiliar with Net Promoter Score, it's basically how likely are you to recommend this. It's kind of like a gold standard question, if you will, for feedback. So that's in there now because a lot of corporate clients like NPS scores, Net Promoter Score, NPS scores. So you have the ability to add that as well. But coming up with a bank of here are questions other people ask, I think is a great idea. We don't have that currently. But Marissa is here, and I'm sure she's taking a note so that we can add that. Thank you,
Product
Marissa.
roadmap. Yeah.
We'll put it on the product roadmap, and we will do that. So thank you for that, Susan.
Okay. I know there's a training on Thursday. I'm going to be
Yep.
driving. Can I just tune in? I'm just going to tune in from the road. You're going to be
Yeah,
my
yeah.
podcast of the day.
I will not only gladly be your podcast, I'm gonna try to tell as many dad jokes as I can to make you laugh while you're driving.
All right, I'm
So
coming up with mom jokes. Be
you
on the
come up with
lookout.
some.
Even worse,
Hey,
stepmom jokes. They're going to be brutal, just
do
so
you
you
know
know.
why? Do you know why dark is spelled with a K?
Why?
Because you can't see in the dark.
Like violence wells up in my fists. Why is that, Earl? Violence.
Hey, hey, all right. Last thing I'll say before I go to Neil. Did I tell you about that shirt that I had recently bought, Susan? Oh man, it was just covered in static electricity no matter what I did. So I went back and I got a new one, free of charge.
What now?
Because I had a shirt
Free
with a lot
of
of
charge.
static electricity. So I got a new
Stop.
one,
In
free
the
of.
name of all that is holy. Stop. Stop.
If you have to explain it, it didn't go over well.
Well, I like that one. I like that one. It's kind of like, the semicolon that got arrested. Neil, you heard about the semicolon that got arrested? You didn't hear about the semicolon that got arrested? It's serving 2 consecutive sentences.
My God. I'm holding my finger down.
I
Like, it's
I
bad.
I have so many of these. Neil, save me from myself.
Yeah. Please, Neil.
So with Talkadot, you have the graphic that shows the testimonials, and then you have
Yes.
the one that shows the 100% or however percent like
Mhm.
the presentation that I noticed that on social media sometimes, well, actually a lot of times people will show one and not the other. Is there a benefit of showing both as opposed to one or the other?
It's personal preference, honestly. So there's a quantitative data, which is how effective, how engaging, how many people want to hear you speak again. And then there's a qualitative data, what people are saying about you. Typically, I would recommend as a best practice always post quantitative and qualitative data. My trifecta is a picture of me speaking, qualitative data, and quantitative data, because I like to show people I was on stage speaking, unless it was like, I'm going to say this as respectfully as I can. We've all spoken at those events where there's like 7 people that decide to sit in the front row and there's a bunch of empty chairs and then everyone kind of sits in the back, and then when someone takes pictures, it's a bunch of empty chairs in the pictures. I don't like posting those pictures because I was like, yo, there was people there, but you won't tell from this picture. It looks like I'm talking to a closet. So I like, I'll crop those in closer, but I like to show myself speaking, testimonials of what people specifically said about it, as well as the data. One of the new features we added is the summaries of your presentation. Have you seen that, Neil?
No, I haven't.
Okay, let me show you this. If anyone is unaware, this is a feature that I think is the bee's knees. So when you present now, if you get a certain amount of feedback, we now have an AI tool that reads all of your testimonials and then summarizes what your audience got out of your talk and the top outcomes they received. So right here, this summary right here was for a talk that I gave like last week. And it says, Arel Moody delivered an exceptional presentation, left audience energized and enlightened. His engaging style and unique perspective on adult development stages made complex concepts accessible and immediately applicable. As one attendee noted, Arel's engaging, captivating, and topic truly speaks to each person in the room. 10 out of 10 recommend. Multiple participants praised his ability to help them understand how to modify communication styles to achieve better results with their teams. Now, then it goes to the outcomes. This is the part that I get really personally excited about. Here's what they took from it. Understanding different adult development stages is crucial for effective team communication, and adapting your communication style to match team members' growth stages leads to better outcomes. So one of the things that I recommend moving forward, if you like, is either copying this. Well, I wouldn't talk about yourself. I wouldn't post Arel Moody delivered. I would change it to like I. But what I love is like this last sentence was my favorite sentence. Help them understand how to modify communication style to achieve better results with their teams. So I'm gonna write, and I just haven't written it yet because I've been getting ready for you guys on Thursday. But I'm gonna post this where talking about why communication styles are so important, because I know this is exactly what my audience is saying about it. So I encourage sharing both quantitative, qualitative, and now you have some content that you can pull as a summary in your posts as well, and in your follow-up emails, and if you're doing any outbound marketing as well. So if you go to any of your reports and you don't see this, if it says generate report, you can just click on a button and it'll generate it for you for any of your past talks. If it says there's not enough data to generate a report, that means that there wasn't enough feedback. You need at least 10 responses with 10 words each to get that feedback that AI has enough to create something. So just a little thing we did for all of y'all because we love you. That's why.
What's the best way to generate more detailed responses? Aurel, like what's your setup, or Jason,
Yes.
what's your setup for that? To like, it was great, well done. Like I get a bunch of those.
Yeah, so my biggest correlation is time allowed for feedback. The longer time I give, the better testimonials I give. The shorter time I give, the shorter testimonials I give. Because you got to remember, we built our survey very intentionally. It's quantitative data first, which is like tap, 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 tap. So that gets me warmed up, right? I don't have to do too much cognitive thinking in terms of what do I want to say. I could just boop, boop, boop. And then the latter half, the last couple of questions are qualitative. So I need time to write those. So if I just go, all right, y'all give me your feedback. All right, cool. While y'all giving me your feedback, let me tell you about the greatest moment in my life that made me cry more than anything else. Like you might get the taps, but you're not giving people the time for the typing. So the longer you can give an audience, the more robust it will be, and the quicker you give them, the shorter it'll be. So Jason, you can jump in on your experience, but that's been what I've noticed.
Spot on. And that's whenever you are really dialing into your time on stage. And that's something that we all do. We all really know how much time that we have on stage. It's just when you begin to implement Talkadot, you have to be more cognizant of that time if you're really going to use the feedback in a way to, one, help you be better, and two, help you get more gigs. So just being cognizant of your time on stage. And we always think that it's taking longer than what it usually takes. We get that uncomfortable feeling of, oh man, I've been standing here like 8 minutes and it's been exactly 47 seconds. So you just be cognizant of that time frame to give them the time for the haptic, the typing answers that are towards the end of that QR code versus the smiley face one that's at the beginning.
Yep. Yep. So that kind of goes back to maximum feedback or ease of use. I like the testimonials. I like to create the space. One of the things that I have also said, which I do create this space, so I can't isolate what I'm about to say as a variable that has dramatically improved it, but I've noticed that I like saying it, so I'll just share it. Maybe it'll improve your phrasing. Is I let people know I actually read your responses. So please let me know what you thought. By saying, because a lot of times it's like I don't want to spend time writing something that's just going to get thrown into a digital shelf that never gets looked at. So by just saying, please let me know what you thought, I actually read every single one of these responses. It helps me perfect my craft so I can serve people like you better. So please let me know what you thought. I can't isolate that as a variable to say do that, I guarantee you'll increase it, but I do that and I create time, and I usually get pretty good like shareable testimonials as well. Did you hear about the baguette that was born in the zoo? It was bred in captivity. Susan, is anybody here a burnout, like a stress manager speaker? Because I'm gonna keep going now that I know
I'm
Susan's
like
got.
woosah over here. I just trying to.
Do you know what
Aurel, I
language?
got one for you.
Who got one?
I got one for you, but I can't tell it. Only you can. It's Kevin. So
Okay.
I have hair, so I can't say this, but you can ask. I lost my hair years ago, but I still carry a comb in my back pocket. I just can't part with it.
That's solid. That's going to my list. That's going to my mental file cabinet, just so you know, Kevin.
I got you.
I like that. You know, this one's stupid. Do you know that it takes me 10 minutes to walk from my house to the bar, but 45 minutes for me to walk from the bar to my house?
Really?
The difference is staggering. That's a terrible one. I
You know,
should have told that one. That's a
you
terrible
know,
one. That's a terrible
if
one.
I may, you mentioned the zoo.
Yeah.
I was actually at a new zoo I went to in Indiana the other day. It was the worst zoo I've ever been to in my life. They had one animal. Yeah, it was a dog. It was a Shih Tzu.
I got two now,
That might be
Kevin.
my favorite.
I got two now.
Hey, I've got more for you, but first, to the eloquent and inspiring Marilyn Sherman, I want to just share what her first question earlier, just something I learned to do with the QR code.
Yeah.
Is I've created a postcard that has the evergreen standard QR code. Because like you have been in a lot of rooms where the Wi-Fi doesn't work, people complain it doesn't work. So then I say, hey, you can scan this QR code on the postcard that's on the aisles, type in the code word, or you could scan what's on the screen. You don't have to type in the word. And that way, then I printed 1,000 of those. And even if I change the code, then I don't have to reprint the postcards, but then I give people the option. And then on the back of the postcard, of course, I have my website, socials, and all that. So then it may be something they take instead of just a business card. But that's just something that I've learned to do as well.
That's awesome, Kevin.
And to close, I don't want to brag, but every time I go shopping, cashiers, they're always checking me out.
Ooh. Ooh.
So- Can I ask a question based on what Kevin just said?
Is it dad joke related?
No,
Oh, okay.
this is actually Talkadot related. But I'm laughing here. So if you have an evergreen QR code, but you want to personalize a code for the event, it's going to show up as two separate events, correct?
So if you have your generic QR code,
Mhm.
someone can just type whatever they want into, if they go to talk.ac, they can just type in whatever they want. That's a generic code that, let me kind of show you what it looks like from.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, but my question is, if I'm
Oh.
trying to report back to the event planner,
Mhm.
I will there be two reports that I then have to pull because I've had a special code for this one event, and
So if you
then some people are doing the evergreen code. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so the evergreen code, and if I have my evergreen code that's like Shannon, and that's like the one I use as my
Mhm.
catch-all, and then I create one that's like leadership, those are considered two reports. So that's correct. So
Okay.
if you create the evergreen QR code, you can just say scan this QR code and manually type in whatever you want them to.
Yeah.
And that could be whatever your client's name is. So you kind of would have two reports if you did it the way you said it.
Okay. I
Yeah.
just wanted to verify. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I got questions. I got dad jokes. So you got to decide how you want this to go. Neil, what's up? Save Susan, because I was about to go into my dung beetle joke. I'll save that one.
Is the potential reason why some may include the qualitative graphic as opposed to the quantitative ones because they don't want people to see less than 100%?
Yes.
Is that an
Yes.
issue? Well, it's not the issue, but is that a valid concern?
Yeah, so it's a very good question. So number one, I've heard people say, whenever I see people share Talkadot reports, I only see people sharing good scores. That's like one thing I hear. And I'm like, yeah, we get a lot of bad scores into our system. But no one's gonna share they got a 45% like valuable rating. Like, why would I wouldn't offer that to the world. So people only share what they do. Now, here's the thing. I actually believe very deeply that sharing reports that are not perfect 100% is ideal. It's actually better. The reason is we don't like if something's only 100%, like imagine you went to Amazon and a review, it had 500 5-star reviews, no 4-star, no 3-star, no 2-star. We're not going to believe it to be accurate. We're going to feel like something's a little off. So I actually like if I get all 100%, that's awesome. But I almost rarely, if I speak to more than 10 people, it's really hard to get 100% of everyone to like 100% of everything you said. So showing real numbers actually is better. One of the things that you will see, this isn't always true. This isn't always true, but a pattern you might notice is that folks who show only 100% typically have a lower response rate on their reports. And people who have like 100, 200, 300 people, there's no way to get 300 people to 100% like everything you did. It's just not possible. So it is a very common concern, which is interesting because speakers go, I've heard speakers say this, if it's not 100%, I don't want to share it. Conversely, I've had event planners say they like seeing data that is real, that's not perfectly 100% because they know it's trustworthy. And what we can do as humans is look at comments and see, oh, I gave it a 1-star Amazon review because I wanted it on Tuesday, but it arrived on Wednesday. Okay, well, is that really a bad product, or is that just, it's not green enough? I wanted a darker green. It's like, well, is that a bad product? So I recommend that even if it's not 100%, share it. If it's below your average, I probably wouldn't share that one. So every speaker has you'll notice you'll have a score average: 92%, 91%, 82%, 83%. If you got like a variable that was like a 70%, yeah, I wouldn't share that one because normally you get like 85. But if you get like 92 and you get like an 85, that's an opportunity for growth and maybe not something you should share. But if you're consistently getting 90s, I would share that all day, every day. What's up, Neil?
Do you think there's a minimum number of responses that you should get before you share the quantitative slide?
That's a great question. I don't have a hard answer to that. I think that all speakers are in different places in their career. So if I'm just getting started, I'm probably speaking to, 10, 15 people at a time. That's like normal. I should, and I should share that. If I'm me, like for example, I spoke to a group of managers and leaders last week. There was only 50 people in the room. Now, if I normally speak to 200, 300 people, 50 people might feel like a low number, but it's all in the positioning too. I got to sit down and work with the leaders of multiple organizations. I love working with an intimate crowd because we get to, work more deeply and all the reasons why intimate is better than huge. So I personally think that wherever you are is good. And it's all about the positioning of it. If I have 7 responses, and I go, hey, I just spoke at this huge conference and I'm so excited, but I got 7 responses, then there's a cognitive dissonance there. But if I sat down with, 10 leaders and I got to share with them some best practices on how to, understand tech better, well, yeah, then I'm going to have 6, 7 responses. So it's all in the positioning as well. Go ahead, Neil.
Do you find that there are certain audiences that are more receptive to providing feedback than others?
I find all audiences are open to feedback if it's positioned correctly. And typically it's, here's a thank you of what you're going to get, and here's how I'm going to use your feedback. So please give it to me. I've spoken to engineers, to educators, to students, to sales professionals, leaders. So I had a wide variety, and I haven't ran into a tough audience. The toughest audience that I speak to, though, toughest, just you have to bring your A game because it's not going to be an easy day. Teachers, they're the toughest people, which makes no sense in the world because I'm like, you do what I'm doing. Why are you going to be so hard to me? So I haven't particularly found that there's one group that is not receptive to it. I think it's all in the positioning and the questions, how you tee up the questions. Cool.
Hey, Ariel.
Yes, Marilyn.
How hard is the integration between Zoho One and Talkadot?
Not hard at all. All you have to do is get a webhook from Zoho. I'll show you how to do this. All you do is you go to your leads right here on your left-hand side, and then go to integrations. And then right here, SpeakerFlow. SpeakerFlow is built on the Zoho platform.
Right.
So you just need to get, it's either their like Zapkey or Webhook. I've always referred to it as a webhook. How you create this is within Zoho. And then all you have to do is paste that into here, turn this on, and then it'll move everything over that you need. Now, do you use SpeakerFlow or do you use Zoho separately?
I use Zoho One, but it is my speaker flow, if that makes any sense.
Uh, is it
Yes,
through like
yes.
Taylor and Austin?
I use speaker flow, but
Yes.
but
And it's
I'm using Zoho One as the
Yeah. So in terms of, we have a guide here, which is an integration guide that you can download that shows you how to set it up. If you don't want to set it up, you can reach out to Taylor or Austin and be like, give me my webhook, and they'll go, here you go. So they know how to do that, and they have a
okay.
whole system set up. So, oh, and again, once you create that hook, you just paste in that link. Again, if this is off for any reason, it'll just not be on, and then you turn it on, and then it'll.
And where did you go to get that webhook?
That is going to be outside of my area of expertise.
Okay.
But SpeakerFlow created this integration guide for how to do the integration with like a
Yeah, I
video
watched
and
some of those
everything.
videos. Those videos are good, but I'm
So
just
yeah, I don't know how to create. That's like a Zoho specific question. So
okay.
unfortunately, I don't know how to do that because I'm not a Zoho expert.
Okay.
But if you reach out to Taylor or Austin, they can definitely answer that question because that's their expertise.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Something new.
Do you find queuing up the QR code different whether you do it, whether you're doing a virtual presentation or an in-person one? And if so, in what ways?
It is different. Yeah, yeah. It's definitely slightly different. So here's the bonus I'm going to give you. Here's a thank you for your fee. All of that is the same. The only main difference is, let me just pull this up here, share my screen. The only main difference is when I go to my code section here, when I click on these three dots, I go to copy a code link right here. And then the only difference is when I'm asking people for feedback, I'll tell them you can either scan this QR code or click the link that I put into the chat, whichever is easier for you. And the reason why I put that link into the chat is because if I'm doing a virtual presentation, some people might be viewing my presentation on their phone, right? So for example, Kevin, he's driving. 90% of me knows 99% of me knows he's on his phone. So he can't scan a QR code from his phone if he's on his phone, right? But if I put that link into the chat, then assuming he wasn't driving or could pull over, he could just tap that with his thumb. And then what I do is I ask the audience to type the word done in the chat when they're finished. So I know they're finished, and then I'll leave them with my final thought. And then I'll wait until I start seeing it go done, done, and it'll always go like this: done, 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 done. And once it starts speeding up like that, that's usually 2 minutes into the game, then I know folks are finished. And I always tell people, if you're still giving feedback, finish up, make sure to wrap it up. But I want to leave you with this final thought. So the two distinctions is I put the link in the chat, and then I ask people to type in the word done in the chat when they're finished. And that's the main difference. Now, little thing, you obviously are a tech guru, so you'll know this, but other folks will mess this up. If I, like you just see me put in the chat there, if I don't add the HTTP for like Zoom platform, it doesn't create a hyperlink. So then people have to like press it and hold it to copy it. And for some reason, Zoom does not like when you press hold and copy. So making sure to add the HTTP if you're manually typing it in, or just copy it from the code section like I showed you and paste it, will guarantee that you'll get a higher response rate on virtual. So the tee up is the same, but those are two little mechanisms that are a little bit different that happen in the virtual space that don't happen in the in-person space. Cool. I saw a question come into the chat. It said, hope you're doing well. Your dad jokes are cracking me up. Oh, that means you want more. Before I go on to the rest of your question, allow me to tell you, what did the dung beetle say when he walked up to the bartender at the bar? He said, "Is this stool taken?"
Grown.
All right. I'm gonna read that. Okay, quick question. I'm working with a client right now, but this has been on my mind. I've been sending tons of emails, but as my insurance business and ministry gets busier, it's getting harder to maintain the momentum in my speaking business for sure. Since my time is limited, I can't travel to too many conferences or accept engagements below my fee. What have you found to be the most effective way to keep momentum going in your speaking career while managing other responsibilities? Would love to hear your thoughts on that. Absolutely, absolutely. So the most important thing for speaking in general is consistency over time. This is kind of the biggest aha, which is the simplest thing. So don't let the simplicity of it like detract from it. If my job is to send messages out, consistently sending, 2 emails a day, it's like dollar cost averaging, is better than doing like 50 emails on one day and then never touching emails again for the next like 6 months and then going back and doing 50 emails on one day. So like doing 2 a day, 3 a day, reaching out to an event organizer, reaching out and doing that. That's going to be the most that compounded work over time. Either you do it or you hire a VA to do it or you have an assistant to do it, or again, like it's just 2 to 3 outreaches. It's very like literally. I know a member of the $1 Million Speaker Group who she says she builds her whole business off of 3 emails a day. Like, but she's been doing it for like 15 years, right? So it's consistency compounded over time. Most of us as speakers, we're actually, as a breed of human, we're not great at consistency. So that consistency over time is what breeds results. So one, I would encourage that. Two, in addition, when it comes to speaking fees, there's a couple of things that will show up. Number one is looking for patterns of who pays your fee versus who doesn't pay your fee, right? So we might notice, hey, these are the people that have said yes to my fee, but then these are the people that have countered below my fee. What you'll notice over time is that there's patterns there. You might notice, hey, Trio, they can't pay my fee, but Gear Up can. Or you know what? Orientation, they can pay my fee, but student affairs can't, right? Like it's different for everyone. HR, they can't pay my fee, but management can. So getting a sense of who is saying yes and who's saying no, because one of the other things that we have an opportunity for, I think every speaker has an opportunity for growth, even if you're, a CPAE, Hall of Fame speaker, $1 Million Speaker, we all have an opportunity to let's see if I find this book. Where is it? Oh, I'm not gonna find it. It's such a good book on the subject. Dang it. Wait, I'm not gonna find it. Well, oh, I found it. No, I didn't find it. I lied to you. I lied to you. Anyway, I just want to show this to Nick Zizi because this was on my bookshelf. The book is called Selling to Your Zebra. So the book in short basically says every single one of us, if we actually look at all of our clients and look at our best clients, the people who pay us the most, easiest to work with, and you isolate those, you'll actually notice patterns that they have. You might notice, like, I do really well with, for whatever reason, like female clients that are between the ages of 50 and 70 years old that work for, um, large associations with over 1,000 members. If you could get that clear in who your ideal ICP is, ideal customer profile, then you can make sure that your 2 to 3 emails are to those folks. So again, that takes a little bit of effort and time to do it. In the book, How to Sell to Zebras, which I know I've probably mentioned that book to you, Nick, because I know zebras is kind of your thing. Will show that. Again, no matter where we are in our business, we can always revisit who did that. One of the things I recommend doing is creating a spreadsheet and listing in each row every speaking engagement you had last year, when it was, and how much they paid you, right? Because here's the little secret, haha, that we as speakers, y'all don't get the same fee every time you speak. You know that, I know that. We act like we get the same fee every single time. No, you don't. Okay. No, you don't. So you want to get a sense of like, when am I speaking and who is paying me what? And then get a sense of, oh, snap. You might notice these 5 clients, paid me my fee, and they all booked me in March. What's that about? There could be a pattern there. There could be a something there. So that level of knowledge of who is my ICP, ideal customer profile, and then consistently reaching out to them, a little effort. Again, every single one of us can do 2 to 3 emails a day. If anyone here says, I'm too busy to do 2 to 3 emails a day, I'm going to say to you, you don't really want to do this then. Like, you should go do something else, because like that's minimal effort. Hey, are you looking for a speaker for an event? Here's my information, let me know. Like, it's a very simple email, it doesn't have to be too over, but that consistency over time is what will yield you better results than like multi-step, postcard campaigns to squeeze pages to, we like to overcomplicate it. At the end of the day, if I need a speaker and you got a content and a message that matches what I need, that's half the battle. But the only way to know that is consistency over time. So hopefully that helps. I'm kind of passionate about this one. I kind of went on a rant on it. So hopefully y'all can see my passion about this. I think a lot of great speakers sell themselves short because of consistency. The one thing I will say, doing the emails yourself is hard, not because the work is hard, but because we hate hearing no. I don't care what anyone tells me. If you're a speaker and you reach out to 3 people and 3 people say no to you or tell you to go to hell, or they say they hate your dad jokes or whatever over and over and over and over and over and over again, you'll eventually stop doing it. So sometimes, putting it to automation or putting it to a VA helps create a barrier of protection that I think is worth its weight in gold. Yeah, cool. Yes, someone asked, is this going to be recorded? Yes, we will record these, and we put these. Marissa, do you want to put the link or where in the chat? Do you want to? You want to?
Yeah, I'll throw the link in the chat just so you guys know too. If you go into the Talkadot community, which you can access from Talkadot, you can toggle from upcoming to past events, and you can find any of the recordings there. So we will send it out in an email, but just so you guys know, so that you can help yourselves, or if you lose the email or anything like that, you can switch from upcoming to past events if you go into. If you either click events at the top where RL is, or if you go to any of the specific types of events, like maybe it's not in there. If you go RL on the left sidebar down to, yeah, there you go. Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. So you can find all the recordings in there to any of the past events. So if you guys are ever looking for it, that's where to find it.
Oh, shizzle. Thank you, Marissa. Dorsey, what's up? I'm gonna go Dorsey, Jason, Neil, just because Jason and Neil have already said some things, and Dorsey just popped in. So what up, Dorsey?
Oh, wow. Okay. I was sitting here working and I had to talk about question and I was like, oh my God, I can catch the last 5 minutes.
Here we are.
So thank you. I do a lot of speaking, obviously, and I have pro Talkadot for myself, but my company, we have some speakers on staff that I have a free account for Mastermind Meditate, and it's kind of clunky, obviously, to use the free, and I want some of the pro features. Is there another workaround? Like, I don't want their data to intermix with mine, but I do like to share reports and data from Mastermind. Is there anything you can think of that would help?
So they are speakers for your company. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? So
Yeah,
you
and like lots of
speak.
difference. And I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
my page, and then I have a logo and says Mastermind Meditate is the other speaker, and I use it for anybody else who we need to collect data for.
Yeah, yeah. So our tool is primarily like an individual speaker tool. It's not like an agency light tool. So typically what folks do in your case is they'll create a code that's for that particular speaker. So let's say there's Joe, Mary, and Bob. The code
Mhm.
might be Joe or the code might be Mary, so that you can actually separate, but it does intermix the data. So we are aware that there is a desire to create a way to separate that within one account. It doesn't currently go as smooth as other features would, transparently speaking, but that is something that's on our radar that we want to make better. But right now, ideally, it is for an individual user. So creating the free account will just create some type of limits on the stuff they can do. So you'd either want to create another pro account for your business and then create different codes for each person, or just be patient and we'll figure something out for you.
Okay. Is there any deal on a second pro account, or is it still the full fee?
There's just the referral rate. So if you come like out
Okay.
of the box, it's like 588 for the year for the pro. If you come into a second account with the referral, it's 499. So that's the only thing that we currently have.
Okay. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you, Dorsey. Jason, did you have your hands up? It went down.
I'm good.
Okay, Jason's good. Neil, what's up? Last question of the hour.
A month ago, I did a poll on LinkedIn and I put forth the following scenario. A speaker and a event planner are on the phone. The event planner is telling the speaker about the event that they're putting on. They want a speaker to speak for 60 minutes. They want actionable takeaways, and they even give the topic that they want the speaker to speak on. And the question that I asked in the poll is when the event planner asks, how much do you charge? What's your next step? And the three options I gave were state your fee or provide a range. The second one was ask for budget, ask about budget, and the third option was ask or offer to send a proposal. So based on those three, and then I also had other in case people didn't like either of those three options.
Yeah.
But based on that scenario, what would you think the next step would be for the speaker?
So the answer is it depends on where you are in your speaking journey, right? In the beginning of your speaking journey, the correct response is what budget do you have allocated for a speaker? Because you don't really know what is your hard line and what you should charge, and you're trying to figure it out, right? Once you get to a certain maturity level, you have a fee that you go out for. Now, the reality is, before I go fully into the next part, there is a number we all quote as our speaker fee, and then there's another number that we will accept as our speaker fee. And those are two different numbers, right? So you might say my speaker fee is 10,000. But if they came back to you and said, "Hey, we got 7,500," you'll say yes. But that same speaker who says my speaker fee is 10,000 and they come back to you at 2,500, you might go, "I can't go out for 2,500. That's a no." So every speaker, whether they're conscious of this or not, they have their fee they ask for, and then they have the fee that they'll accept. Now, there are those few speakers who go, "My fee is my fee is my fee is my fee. It's 10 grand." I was like, so if someone come at you with 9,500, you gonna say no for real though? Like, I don't believe them, right? So in the beginning, it's what budget do you have allocated for speakers? In a mature phase, when you know what your value is and what your worth is and what that particular industry is accustomed to paying, you then kind of quote your fee. Now, a lot of people go, "Oh, but what if I sense that they don't have my fee?" The follow-up question that we've used that I find to be the best follow-up question is, if they like show budget resistance or like they fall out of their chair or whatever, we then would ask, what is the closest you can get to my fee that is within your budget? What is the closest that you can get to my fee that is within your budget? Because I want to go, I trust you. Look at your budget. What is the closest you can get? Now they're going to come back whatever their number is, and then you've got to make the decision. Again, I will stress this at the beginning of a career, the answer is yes to everything, in my opinion, my humble opinion. Why is the answer yes to everything? Because you never know who's in the audience. You never know what I would rather be speaking than not speaking all day, every day. And then once you get to a certain point where it's like, I can't do everything for $200 or $300 because, either my stock has gone up or I'm busy or like, you don't want to lose money on a talk, right? Like you don't want a $300 talk and a $500 plane ticket. So that is my understanding of how I've done it and how I would recommend it. I think everyone has a different approach to it, but that's what I would say. I don't want to send a proposal because I want to handle. I don't like them being surprised by my number in a proposal personally. I want to have a conversation with them because if I go, "Oh, it's 10,000," and they go, "Great, could you send me a proposal?" That's very different than if their expectation is like 2,000 and in my proposal it says 10,000 and then now they ghost you. They don't respond to any of your emails and then you're chasing them and you're like, "What?" Because now they're embarrassed about price. Like I'd rather handle that uncomfortability right now and then work through it. then surprise them whenever. Cool. All right. Thank you all for joining me. This kind of reminds me of how the hamburger introduces his wife. Do you know how the hamburger introduces his wife? Kevin knows. To meet Patty. Meet Patty. Shannon, you didn't know what you walked into with these dad jokes here. I appreciate
Yeah. I find him really funny. Of course, I'm easy to amuse.
I'm here for that. So if it oh, go ahead, Kevin.
Aurelio, I just want to thank you for everything you're doing and hosting the AMAs. And just remember, rehab is for quitters.
We went into a dark hole at the end here.
Right.
Well, if
I
you
put
guys
a link in the
enjoyed
chat
this,
for you too. I got you.
if you guys enjoyed this presentation, my name's Aurel Moody. If you disliked it, my name's Kevin Flemings. You have a good day.